conflict between House Steiner and House Davion rages on.
Was it smart for the Archon to hire mercenaries to deal with the bandit army on Carver 5?
Kelly knows that once the bandits are dealt with, the mercenaries will pull out.
Welcome, everybody, to the First Circuit Podcast, number 44. Tonight we have Aethermech.
Hello.
And we have Biter. Blarg. Tonight we'll be talking about the Summer Solstice event. We'll be talking about MechFest, MechFeast Phase 4, the Flea Challenge, and Slayer 7 Hero Pack sale. Also, tonight's list is thoughts on the Flea, on just what we think about the Flea and how it's been for through the first week. MechCon pricing collectors are almost gone, and the Battletech update. So first we'll be talking about the Summer Solstice event, or aka loot bags for cool stuff. So what do you guys think about this?
It's loot bags for more stuff.
Yay, free thing.
Free things, huh? That's about it. You guys don't enjoy it? I mean, like, I love this thing.
It's more twinkets. I like that the cockpit items are actually like popular war horns. So you can get like the backpack war horns and other things like that, more rare ones rather than like
crappy ones.
Yeah, the little nonsense bits and pieces. There are still like 8-bit sunglasses and whatnot, but most of them are war horns.
Yeah. I think most of what I'm liking is the Warhorns and the MC, because I've been enjoying a whole mess load of different MC from this event. What happens is you get the every time you get over 100 match score in a game, you get a loot bag, and then after a whole bunch of loot bags, you get a special type of Warhorn, which will be coming out once you get. I believe it's 100, correct?
So there's the grand prize kind of thingy they're doing at 100 bags. Well, if you earn all of them, but it's only like one cockpit item, which is Stonehenge. Otherwise, you're always just drawing from the same random lots. So for me, at least, I've got got the whole bunch of C-bills and GXP, but there's been a plenty of MC from this event from the bags I've drawn thus far.
Oh yeah, same here. Like if you're looking at my list here, I got a whole bunch of different MC, some GXP, which I don't really care about that much, some active premium time, and then a lot of good Warhorns, which I'm happy about that. And then also too, like since I got the tournament supporter back, I got additional 25 loot bags. So I got a lot of MC just from those itself. So I'm pretty happy about this event. I love when they do this during Thanksgiving and during Halloween. And then every so often they do they normally do it during the summertime.
Yeah, so this one is going on for a week and a bit. It's like from the point of the recording, it's 11 more days or 10 more days once these videos, the podcast comes out. They are also later on doing specific events for Canada Day and Independence Day, I think, where an extra 25 loot bags can also be earned.
So that's double, like, you get the standard, then also get the Canada one?
Yeah, so during those days, I think you presumably just need to do enough match score, and you'll earn one of both. So your last 25 loot bags you save to the last couple of days when it's Canada and USA Independent Day. And each of them as well have their own grand prize thing, which is a decal each. One of them's a hot dog, one of them's a corgi face. So not that spectacular either. But the key thing at least is just by playing the game, you can earn 150 loot bags. There's plenty of MC and Warhorns, maybe GXP and C-bills and whatnot to lots of food pallets. And yeah, if you've got tournament supporter pack or the Hellfire, Vulcan, or Incubus pre-orders, you're getting a whole bunch of extra free Twinkies as well.
I love how you say free Twinkies. That's awesome.
I do wish they would remove the GXP and just stick in general skill points and get it over with.
Ooh, that'd be a nice one to have, actually.
Because then you can, instead of GXP, just go, hey, here's 3 skill points.
Yeah, even if they actually gave like less skill points, that'd be good. So like, let's say like divided by like 100 or something like that. So like 200 be two general skill points. I would love that a lot more than than like GXP.
Well, and you can even
Also,
do it slightly thinner, because I don't know what the actual GXP levels are, but for like every 1,000 GXP, you get a skill point.
It's like 800.
because every skill point, whether you're spending regular XP or general experience points, is 800.
Yeah.
So 200 GXP is an eighth of a skill point, which is not very valuable at all. And yeah, I never really feel good getting GXP. I'm up to about 1 million or so GXP. I have no use for it whatsoever. The only point of me getting GXP through these things is so that I could, at some point in the future, say I've got 2 million GXP.
Bragging rights.
in regards to how useless GXP is to me.
Yeah,
That's
true,
the bigger
true.
thing.
For like new players, though, I think it does help a little bit because you can use it for any type of mech itself. But you are right, though. I'd rather get a general skill points and just GXP instead. That'd be so much better. And I don't know if they could actually program that in, though.
For a new player, at least, like the biggest thing that I think most people like, even if you play the game a fair bit, is just C-bills. If you replace all the GXP with C-bills, I don't think people would be too upset. That just reduces the grind or makes the grind better. Whereas sometimes I do a match, I get my bag, and it's GXP.
Yeah, I know.
Didn't really get anything of value this time. But if every single time you're getting MC, just even a token amount of C-bills, like there's small amounts, 87,000 C-bills, yeah, that's 50,000 C-bills. Yeah, it's a consumable
Yeah.
worth of C-bills, but every little bit it's better than GXP, better than nothing.
True. So yeah, that was the event for the summer solstice, and they actually I love the picture they had for this too. The picture is really nice, beautiful. Having the flea look into the sunset, that was kind of cool. I like that.
My main concern just with this, at least, is doing 100 matches, possibly 125, 150 matches in the period of 11, 13 days or whatever, 2 weeks. That's a lot of mech warrioring.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice when you have a long period of time to do these things, but at least it encourages me to get on.
Same here, and I have like 2 accounts that I have to go jump onto. So one account's gonna get sidetracked, and I'm just gonna do old Bob, and that's it.
Yep. All right. Moving on to the other event thing. I think it's basically past now, isn't it? The MechFest Champions event things are finally over. So no more Innisphere mechs, the ones that are being used in competitive, being on sale, and no more doing 500 damage to get a whole bunch of MC and C bills playing.
It was a good event though. Like I actually went ahead and did a bunch of I bought a bunch of mechs that I kind of wanted just to have. Like I bought, like last night was a Shadowhawk 2K. It actually was pretty good, pretty nice mech. I was doing pretty well and got some builds from your biter and some from the audience, and it was nice. Just buying some of the mechs I won't normally buy for 2 million C-bills was not a big deal.
That's right. I mean, for me at least, I own the majority of these mechs, so I just had to take them out of the dust them off a bit and take them out for a spin, get the damage done in one match, and just cycle through them easy peasy.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily a big fan of it only being the competitive versions that were on sale.
Yeah.
At least that meant it was very restrictive, because some of them, they only have one variant, and that one particular variant isn't necessarily one of the better variants.
But they did have it for they had 4 different phases, so they had a bunch of mechs for sale like over a certain period of time. So I guess you could actually get all the different variants depending, right? Or was it just
each phase cycled the different mechs?
Oh, okay.
The actual chassis, but individual variants within a type of mech, there may only be one on sale, because later ones, of course, are using when the Helm Core comes out, some of them have XL engines or special hardpoints, this, that, and the other. So, for example, when the Raven is out, you can get the Ravens without ECM for very cheap. Whereas, of course, the big Raven, the Raven 3L, the one with ECM, costs the regular amount. So if they're trying to get people to Ravens, you're shoving them into the ones without the ECM. And to some degree, at least, a lot of people really like the Raven for its ECM.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoy I definitely enjoy that one. It's a lot of fun to go play.
I would say in terms of the meta, it's very interesting that most of these mechs are not very commonly used on the field. They are a lot of them are typically not necessarily considered that meta, and a lot of people are buying the odd variants that are on sale right now, which meant, from my perspective at least, I had a lot of like pugs were particularly potato over the last couple of weeks.
Well, that happens during all events, though.
Yeah, a whole bunch of players come back, but they're also
it was a
jumping
little
into
extra special these last couple of weeks.
It was, yeah, they were very special, and teams would evaporate very quickly. In fact, I've been having difficulties to some degree with streaking a little bit because the teams are made of such thin paper, they evaporate very quickly, whereas my streak playstyle relies on the team at least lasting for a while whilst I circle around the enemy and slowly grind them to paste. But because my team just doesn't have any map presence because they have sucky builds and they get shot down really quickly, there's not much place for a positional mech, for position, for a mech more centered around positional warfare, when ultimately at least all I needed to do was strap a whole bunch of laser vomit, a whole bunch of DACA, and shoot any random idiot in front of me and they'll fall to pieces. That was just been, I'm a little bit sad, at least I'm not doing this weird play style, but it's the way to pull out ahead at with the event going on. Was just don't rely on your team, just be a really good independent shooter. Just take Hellbringer laser vomit, pew, and you just one shot idiotic mechs who stand around like, I don't know why my guns are so low, I'm not used to this.
Do you think that the game's actually triggering into that type of playstyle that basically is not really tactical, it's not really like anything else? Like, just like you're talking about, it's like you want to do a different type of build or do tactical warfare, but yet all the game's turned it into, literally is double heavy Gauss, laser vomit, and that's about it. That's all I've been seeing a lot of people use, is just those type of builds, and the game is progressing into the alpha meta type thing, and not really getting into different variants of builds and how they work, and like what they can help out in the team and stuff like that. It's just going into just and just killing everything. Basically not really playing a game. Not really being a tactical game like it should be.
I think part of it is that as groups form up and play in the group queue, they gravitate towards the high alpha builds because they're just more efficient at destroying mechs. Yeah. And then group queue, you see in solo queue, you see a bunch of odd, like just miscellaneously thrown together builds, and the ones that come out on top there are also the high alpha builds, or the ones that can do lots of sustained damage. Yep. And so you end up seeing the split being really hard in solo queue.
I would say with the MechFest event going on, a lot of people are taking mechs they don't pilot that much, and they're just chucking together builds. And there's others who are just still playing their regular playstyle. So what sort of, the way I would equate it is sort of like, normally at least the level of play is fairly high universally. Like at least all the pugs are somewhat competent. Obviously there's good players around, but they're only somewhat a bit better than the others. Whereas with everyone doing these mechs, they're unskilled, they have a really stupid build chucked into it. Someone in a meta mech is, miles ahead, like it's a really sharp peak, whereas everyone else is, down at floor level just going, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's at least why it feels sometimes so frustrating, is at least, to me at least, the last couple of weeks has just been that sharp, that radical difference between how competent most average players are and how competent someone is with their build that they've been happy with for quite some time, that they got very used to.
Well, I guess just like you're talking about, the builds and everything else have been always during events. You always find out that they have stupid builds, so they have like some type of thing. They don't really use meta mechs and just kind of just throw shit together. But I think though, like the game progressively over time, I've been noticing, like even in tier 2 and tier 3 and everything, is that just progressing to just only be alpha builds, only be the super meta high damage builds, and not really actually going into what Battletech was really, tactical warfare of what this game is like a team warfare game. Of course I'm playing the bug games a lot more than I actually do in group queue, But even in group queue, it's the same thing. You got like little groups of people, like 2 and 3. They're doing their own thing. Like, we're gonna go over here and go to sniper over here. These guys are gonna go over here and do this. They don't really like talk to each other like during the comms that much. In the game itself, I've been it might just be me, but it's been noticing that it's just progressing. The whole game is just progressing into that. What type of meta super build can I put on the fleet and make it just destroy like other mechs, type thing. Not really tactical warfare.
Well, I think that's coming down from people wanting to win more than wanting to have fun and
Oh yeah,
silly
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
It's a tricky one. I'm never necessarily sure that the game, at least with the player base, is going to ever be necessarily super tactical.
Oh yeah.
The thing I would say at least is, from my perspective, me and a lot of people really enjoyed taking brawler mechs, mechs that had a really good potent payload up close. And PGI has nerfed things like Clan Small Pulse and SRMs in particular, like the spread of SRMs, meaning that this very risky playstyle and very specialized build is not worth the risk reward, at least in my perspective. And that's why at least engagement ranges are extending. It's why, to some regards, I would say SRMs are obsolete, is that streaks and, well, in more particularly MRMs do the same job SRMs do up close for the most part, but they can also reach out at a distance. So the versatility of splatting someone at distance and up close is better than just being able to splat someone up close.
Yeah.
And so this means the engagement ranges get longer. It means you can't necessarily get so close to the enemy and feel like you're outflanking the enemy, this, that, and the other, because they're always out ready to reach out and touch you. So to some degree, at least, I feel that there should be some decisive close range weaponry in the game, so that teams can, some players at least, can try and get really close and win a really decisive engagement. Whereas as it is right now, it's at best you've got something like the Arctic Wolf with a huge amount of SRMs that knock out one guy and then run away to cool down.
True. I've seen that so many times, to tell you the truth, or the Piranha runs up and just hits you in the ass with a bunch of machine guns. Yeah, I've been seeing that a lot lately. But yeah, like, that's just my personal opinion. That's my only personal opinion, though.
Yeah, I just otherwise it's always just a matter of how brave the pugs feel and how tanky the there's the funny dichotomy of sort of the mechs that aren't taken out so often are getting lots of armor buffs. So like an onion is pretty tanky and pretty shooty, but it's got the really low hard points and whatnot. Yeah. But most people don't take an onion out as their everyday mech. They take out a mech with nice high hard points like the Warhammer or something, or the Hellbringer or whatever. Those do not have the same tankiness, which means you have a lot of teams filled with very squishy mechs that don't want to push. But not many people wanting to jump into something like the Onion, because the Onion doesn't have those crazy SRMs like it used to be able to just, knock down the front door on its own and be a sheer, it just doesn't feel the same pushing in an Onion with the short range weapons being nerfed as they have been.
Actually, I had that problem with the Onion when I first actually used it. Was I kept on shooting the ground because I wasn't noticing my arms were so low, because the hard points were so low, like for the weapons in the arms, that I was shooting the ground. It's like, oh, this sucks, or shooting the hilltop, and I've been noticing that, and that kind of like put me off, like on that mech just a little bit though. Like if I was on flat ground firing somebody, that'd be fine. But I was humping hills and all that kind of stuff, and it was irritating. I was getting kind of pissed off about that. But that's just me.
Hills and an onion? Come on.
I was humping hills.
Well, that's sadly the thing I say with the Onion, is that we remember the days when we went. Like I encouraged everyone to take, we took a lance of brawler onions, and we would get really close to the enemy and then just charge straight into them and knock out like half the team with one, armored punch.
Yeah.
And that was hella fun. But due to the nerfs of SRMs and whatnot, the Onion really struggles in this role anymore, because before what you did, you pushed out, you made a hugely risky move. The enemy can see all of them are shooting at you, and you aim at the guy right in front of you, blam, all your damage goes to his center torso, 70 damage to his center torso. Your friend next to him shoots 70 damage to the center torso, and the enemy goes down very quickly. But the nerfs to Artemis, the nerfs to Miss SRM spread, of course, mean that I do blam 70 damage to the torso components of the guy in front of me. And it's just not the same, because now I've made a hugely risky move, and I'm basically just trading with the enemy with a slightly better DPS than them. Oddly enough, that isn't actually as encouraging as just cutting through them like butter.
Yeah.
Obviously, at least within PGI's goals of making time to kill, slower, they wanted to curtail this assassin playstyle, this very jumping out at a guy with a dagger, basically, kind of playstyle.
High risk, high reward in game.
High risk, high reward play for closer range combat. Brawling isn't where it used to be necessarily. It still is you can still kill people and be pretty good at it, but on average, at least, if you're jumping into a random match with pugs, you're way better off just taking a couple of medium lasers and MRM 40 and spamming the enemy at range, and just getting easy, reliable damage in. Why take the extremely risky build?
I was noticing that last night when I was doing the Shadowcat or the Shadowhawk. I had a MRM 40. Yeah, like Shadowhawk. I had a MRM 40 with 3 medium lasers, and just sitting there, just spamming at 560 like meters, and just keep on just doing it. And I was getting a lot of damage just doing that. And basically the risk to go in, like you've been saying, to go in balls to the wall, especially in pug matches, because I mean, so many times I'll run up there and say, "Let's go, guys," and I'll be the only person running up there, and then I'll get totally creamed because they're all poking and like doing that kind of stuff. But a really good team that actually, usually on a pug match or even on group matches, a good team that actually goes in together and assaults a certain position, the other team will fold about 90% of the time, and that's usually what happens. But it's just getting that initial, like, I don't want to get my paint. I don't want to get my mech all chipped up and everything. That kind of like irritates a lot of people, and that happens so many times, especially in pug matches.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a lance or so, like even the lance of onions with brawler setup will make a huge dent. It just isn't. It isn't cleaving through the enemy team like it used to. What I would say, I did actually watch your when you were with the Shadowhawk, you used the SRMs. Early on in the day, and I typed to the chat, SRMs, what's this old, obsolete tech?
Yeah, I saw that too.
Funny, watching you play, at least, like, obviously, this is no slight against you, but it was like you run around a corner, the enemy are, they're moving from the people doing the rotation thing, and you're at 270 meters, so you open fire with the SRMs, and the SRMs fly, and they take like half a second to reach the full distance, which means even the big targets, you aim directly at them, you fire it, you press the SRM button, it's close range, you've made huge risk, and it just flies behind them mostly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. In fact, I've been noticing a lot, and with the MRMs, since I changed to the MRMs, I know exactly where to point it, just a little bit in front of them, like when they're running, and that actually gets a full spread on 40 points of damage, like on their mech itself. Like maybe like you lose a couple missiles, but it's a lot more damage than I would actually even with 3 SRM6s.
Yeah, I'm saying the SRMs and MRMs have a very similar velocity. They're quite slow. So to get to 270 meters, it takes both of them about half a second. And to get to 500 meters with the MRM, it takes them about a second.
Yeah.
So you're aiming a second ahead at long range with, at the max range of MRMs, and you're aiming about half a second ahead with SRMs. And that was sort of the sad thing, at least. It's why I've switched to streaks, is that these streaks are superior to SRMs at max range. If I get all the range upgrades, I can splatter people with effectively SRM damage at about 300 or so meters, and within the sphere tech.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like streaks. Well, even with like streaks are like I've been noticing, like I've been just running my Kintaro 18 running into games just with streaks, and let me tell you, it's just like minimum 500 points of damage, and I just tank everything. It's like I'll tank assault mech and I still get 500 points of damage.
Yeah, I love brawling in this game, but because the SRMs have such an unreliable travel time, I've switched to streaks because it's just way easier to brawl the enemy, quote unquote, brawl them at like 300 meters and circle them than it is to try and get really, like, because of the spread of them, you have to get almost basically point blank to get that more pinpoint damage like you used to.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's I would have to wait and see how things balance out because, as I said, at least there's been a lot of potatoing with the MechFest of Champions event to bring us full circle.
Flea challenge, yeah.
And it's just sort of those things where, like, if someone takes a king crab and they've got 8 AC2s and they're only chain firing it, pow, 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 pow. They're not using the macro. They're just holding down the chain fire button.
Yeah.
You're like, no, this is a waste of our 100-tonner. You were late to the battle. You Solaris City, you got lost. Everyone had a huge fight. You're late, and now you're just firing one AC2 at a time. No, it's a good mech, just not played like that.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so yeah, that was a weapon technology side of the podcast. So let's go to the Flea Mech event, the Flea Challenge. Did you guys ever get the
just
Flea?
The Flea and the Flea Challenge, right?
Yeah, the Flea and the Flea. Well, first we do the Flea Challenge. The Flea Challenge. Did you guys get the Flea yet?
I have all the fleas.
You have all the fleas? I wasn't shilled like Larch was, unfortunately, and so I was skipped. Mainly probably because I wasn't making a lot of YouTube videos about Mechwarrior during that last month. But I mean, so far I love looking at the flea. It's fast, it's cute, and it's like I'm probably just gonna purchase it just because.
It's like the Locust's more adorable little brother.
Yeah, it just looks cute, man. It's like I want to pilot one, man.
Yeah, I do like the look of the mech. I got the standard pack, which means for the event, it's just do 1,000 damage of each of them, and I get a bunch of C-bills, which is very invigorating. Woo!
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that whole thing, it's like, okay, well, whatever. But like, I mean, it's fast. It's just cute. It has a lot of weapons on it. It's just, it's one of those types of mechs that, like the Locust, if you got something else to do, and you're just sick and tired of playing assault mechs, you just go, I gotta play Locust and see what I can do with it and just have fun with it. That's one of the mechs you could definitely go have. I mean, I love it. I mean, I love seeing them. I haven't played it yet, but I love seeing these guys running around the battlefield.
I've had a lot of fun with the stealth mask flea in particular.
And which one's that one?
I think that's the 20.
Oh, okay, the 20, yeah.
It's the one with the ECM. It comes stock with stealth armor, yada yada. But
yeah, it's the only one with both of those techs.
Yeah,
it's hysterical running it with the mask on at 177. And you're like, oh wow, I'm like bouncing off of things because I can't actually turn in time.
177.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. He made sure to buy speed tweak as soon as possible.
Oh god.
Are you kidding? I threw GXP at it and mastered it before I even took it out.
So like, and what do you have on it though?
So I originally ran it with 4 ER mediums to try to see if the range quirk on it was really effective with the ERs, and it's not. They're just too hot and the cooldown on them is too slow. So I flipped it over to 4 regular mediums, a pair of UAVs and a artillery strike.
It's not bad. Yeah, basically that's probably what I would do as well too, because even with the Locust you could have or the Pirate's Bane, you have 4 medium lasers, and that usually does really well.
Yeah, 4 regular medium lasers, 5% range is nice. It's one of the stronger quirks of all the fleas, and it's the one with all the tech on it.
And plus stealth too.
Well,
but you can ECM and mask is all the tech is what I'm referring to.
Yeah, I've had some pretty silly games where, like on Caustic, I'll flank around the Caldera, turn on stealth, get behind them, drop 2 UAVs and an airstrike, and then like just go circle wide around them again and come back behind them and start poking them. So the entire fight under UAVs.
There hasn't necessarily been too many fleas running about, I've noticed. At least I expected there to be hordes of fleas all over the place. But I think a lot of people are doing the MechFest Champions thing, and not necessarily that many picked up the flea, particularly since the most interesting one is behind the reinforcement pack.
Well, that's what they got to do to make money. That's how I see it. It sucks, but that's what they got to do.
Yeah, so it just means they're not going to get as much investment possibly because people aren't buying the standard pack as much.
Well, just wait till it comes out first, like C-bills.
Yep. Otherwise, at least in comparison's sake, it feels at least, it's kind of squishy. Just like any of the other 20-tonners, honestly.
No.
I have noticed, at least unlike the Locust, its arms catch streaks much more reliably. Which means it's actually quite a bit tankier than a Locust against streaks, but against regular fire, its legs sometimes fall off a lot quicker, it feels like.
Oh.
At least when without skills to start with, of course.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I have noticed that it is almost exclusively XL friendly because the side torso hitbox seems to be the entire front of the mech, or the CT hitbox.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I haven't seen too much of it being side torsoed, and that's usually how you kill like a Locust. Is that the Locust is running from side to side and it turns and all the streaks hit the side torso and blast it off. Whereas the Flea, it actually spreads and its arms are much better at catching a bunch of flak. So I've had times I do like 2 alphas with the streak clops and it doesn't kill a Flea. I mean, there's not much Flea left, but he got away. 124 damage done to the little thing, and it's somehow still alive because it just spreads so well. Whereas like Locusts can sometimes die to just streak 24.
Yeah. I've noticed that the Flea, I've had some really ridiculous survival numbers where I've ended a match at like 15% hit points left. It's like, wow.
Yep. And otherwise, at least the Flea has plenty of options with mask, plenty of machine gun ones, plenty of them. Like, it's just got a lot of hard points and typically a lot of tech on it, making it at least a lot more interesting mech to pick up for 20 tons than the Locust. Now, it's not a damage powerhouse like the Piranha, but in terms of just bringing a whole bunch of teeny little weapons and using funny things like mask and whatnot, it does bring something new and interesting to the table, and somewhat almost could supplant the Locust for the most part, in my opinion.
And one of the things you actually emphasized on was it just has a bunch of different type of hard points, which I kind of like. So this mech can be this mech can be that, this mech I'm gonna have this. So it actually, like, it would intrigue me to purchase this just for the simple fact is that it would be something different to play, like the Locust. Like sometimes I'll just bring my Locust just because I want something different to play, but normally I run the Pirate's Bane. But these, I would just run any one of these types of builds because it's like so much cool things I could put inside there and just go, cool, I'm gonna do this and this and try this out and see how this works. And so that would actually entice me more to purchase this Flea. Like I know, like I don't know if I actually was adamant about buying this when we first reviewed it, or previewed it or whatever. Basically, I don't know if I was actually like, yeah, get it or not. I forgot like what it was, but right now I'm probably gonna purchase it just for the simple fact it's just something cool to do, something different.
Well, it's something different, but its main role is still just squirreling. It's not really much of a damage powerhouse. It can't take many hits and whatnot. Still, stuff, particularly ECM and Maskon, in my opinion, you just run around and skirmish, harass, just have fun with the tech and be a squirrel.
Well, one of the things that the Flea does really well that the Locust doesn't is the best Locust is by far the Pirate's Bane, and you have to pay real money for it.
Yeah.
Whereas the Flea, the kind of standout one is going to be available for Seabills eventually.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a 20, right?
And then the other Fleas, you have enough of a variety of hard points and stuff to where it doesn't feel like, oh, I should be taking the hero because, it's just better. So it doesn't have that weird Locust effect, because a lot of Locusts are, okay, it's a Locust. Oh no, it's a Pirate's Bane, oh my god.
Well, also, plus the Locust has definitely got nerfed during a couple patches, way far away, basically to a certain point that I don't want to play those mechs anymore because they got so way nerfed because of the new skill tree.
Well, the engine desync really screwed over the Locust with its acceleration, deceleration, the ability to poke around a corner and just go pew 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 and instantly change direction and be really
exactly.
But the Flea is just a bit below the Locust in terms of agility, but a lot of them have mask. I mean, you're paying 1 ton for it, but it does give you actually that old Locust start and stop ability. It takes a lot of really precise micro, but the old Locust is back in some ways, baby, and it's a lot of fun just starting and stopping, instantly catching people out like that.
True. So is that it for the fleet that we got?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So I'll probably purchase it. Next up, we got looks like we're talking about MechCon pricing collectors is almost gone. So if you haven't actually got this yet, definitely go pick them up. I think the last time I saw they had 25 tickets left. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, 25 tickets left, but they are $90, and they're going to go up to $100 July 31st. I mean, you got a month to go pick them up, anyways. So if you guys can pick them up, if you're going to MechCon, I don't know if I'm going to pick some up. I don't know. For my wife and I, I'm probably either going to do standard or the collectors. I mean, playing on the pod that they have, the pod demo thing, be cool. Don't get me wrong. Plus, it'd be really good to put on my YouTube channel. But for an extra $40, I don't know.
You're paying almost double the price for a swag bag and
yeah,
the ability to play in that pod. I'm personally not sold on it.
A T-shirt, which normally is about $25, like anyways, and then swag bag has some extra, doohickeys and then the playing on the pod. I guess that's only 3 extra things you get from the collectors compared to the standard. So
you get a mug with the sun spider in it, or whatever the new mech's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. But if you got the money, cool, spend it. If not, don't worry about it. I still kind of pissed off about the VIP tickets sold out in like 2 hours. Oh well. So I think, that's it for the MechCon. We'll be talking about the Battletech update. Have you guys played it with the Battletech update yet?
Yep.
What do you guys think?
Okay, so first we just actually cover at least Battletech has at least promised to start with. They're going to add a whole bunch of extra options to the campaign, do a lot of rebalancing quality of life stuff, and that's mostly what they've tried to deliver on the first patch. Of particular note is at least difficulty. A lot of people saying the game's very easy. There's no difficulty sliders or any ways to tailor the experience to your own personal preference. And they've done a lot of bits and pieces here and there to try and give people more options. So, for example, at least you at the start of the campaign, and also I think there's a few options at the very start, like Iron Man mode, and a few others that you can only turn on at the very start of the campaign. Other ones, though, you can fiddle around at any point. So, for example, if your mech CT is destroyed, then you lose the mech, for example. You can do that kind of thing. You can have it so that no rare weapons with pluses on them that are slightly they're better than the regular counterparts. None of those drop in salvage. You can select that option if you want. You can have your mech pilots always die when they are lost in the mech for whatever reason, other than presumably ejecting. Hopefully, ejection doesn't kill your pilots. That would be dumb.
Yeah.
You can make it so contracts pay you, instead of just the normal amount, you can have them pay less or even more than the regular amount in terms of money and offer more salvage. So if you want a faster campaign, for example, you can have it so they offer more sea bills and more salvage. Or if you want it harder, you can do the inverse.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm happy they did this because I was having a fun time with my Twitch part where I would just put medium lasers, jump jets, and that's all I did for my mechs. And then I would jump around like crazy, just like Biter taught me, and just get them, just get the mobility. It was starting to get really boring, and that was before I was just doing lerms. I was just doing lerms like crazy. This, then I did that. It was just getting really boring, really too easy to go kill the mechs with. Now with this, I could actually tailor it to whatever I want to be, like lethality, mech destructions, no rare salvage, progression, just make it a lot harder for me to start killing things, or basically just like, okay, well, instead of Thunderbolt, now there's a Battle Master, that kind of stuff. And so it's a little bit harder to do that kind of stuff. This will make it so much easier or so much more fun for me. Now on my Twitch channel, I'm doing stock mode, so I'm really not. This I might change a little bit, not too much. Maybe I don't know, increase or decrease the salvage and the contract payment, but that's about it. Because doing stock on normal mode like right now is kind of hard. I really got to be careful what I'm doing, so I'm really kind of like being like iffy like on my missions. But this is going to help out so much in the game, and like you said, quality of life type improvements, which is what they've been promising. And this, if they this patch, once they get this up there, and then well, it's up there now, but they get it up, and then they actually have more patches coming out. Just this tells me that this actually, Harebrained Schemes knows what they're doing, and they actually love the game itself, and this is increasing my happiness of the game, and I can just keep on playing the game in itself with different types of game modes.
I think the best change to this whole thing is the spacebar acceleration.
Yep. You can also turn that spacebar on permanently as well.
Yeah.
They speed it up so much. It feels kind of wrong every time I click move forward, and the mech just goes whoop, like I don't know, like a Slenderman kind of thing.
Oh god.
Like all my mechs are suddenly Slenderman. Whereas I prefer being able to press the button myself, turn it on and off, rather than them always jumping and walking like Slenderman. I'm a bit more half and half to some degree with these changes. The being able to tailor the experience, make it a bit tougher, this, that, or the other, is certainly the steps in the right direction. But I think there's some fundamental issues with the gameplay that mean, or these changes that sort of go hand in hand. Like, for example, just out of the top of my head, I would say there's nothing about enemy aggression or competency. You can't make them really incompetent or say, hey, I want some really hardcore enemies that, run the heat bar up to the maximum, who always take the best shots and stuff like that.
Well, that's probably like part of the skill level type thing that you could adjust, and that's probably like built in for it though.
I mean, there's no difficulty still. There's no
I see what you're saying.
How they play. What you can change is how many mechs they start with, but whether I'm trying to make an easier or more difficult campaign, they still play just the same as always. I can make the grind slower, but that just means I play for longer. The thing is, like, again, it's a bit sad to bring up like XCOM, but like the XCOM Long War mod does make the grind a lot slower. You have to be much more methodical with your resources. But to balance that out, they added so many more tiers of equipment and so many more variances and stuff to the enemies to make it so much more of a mountain you have to climb. In this, though, there aren't necessarily huge changes to fundamental ways the games can play, and obviously, at least I think this is more something the modders can do. It's very difficult to design these things, but like I think like it's nice being able to turn off rear salvage, but would it be also cool if rear salvage dropped a lot more earlier, much more quicker? True. Just at least for a quick playthrough, I would say, hey, give me generous amounts of salvage, give me a generous amount of C-pills. I need less parts to make my mech, and I'd like to have extra rare items, so I play the game much more quickly. That way I have a huge sense of very quick sense of progression. I'm not saying this is necessarily a better way to play the game. It's just kind of cool if I could get a triple plus weapon at the very start, rather than knowing it'll only drop once I'm about 50% through the storyline.
Yeah, true. But like I said though, like this is just a sample of what they can do. So like maybe next one they're gonna actually make different types of events, or actually different types of gameplays that different types of maps or the whatever to go into instead of just the normal ones. Because I know like after dropping like 10 missions, I'm sick of playing on that map. I'm really sick of doing that, because I do the same exact thing. Go to this hilltop, shoot down, do that kind of thing. And so this makes it, it's like cool. Okay, like I know they're actually doing their job.
Somewhat. I think though, at least with the way it comes up, is it just when you start up a campaign or go to the options menu, so to speak, it just opens up a huge menu of here are possible things you could do to change your game. And at least for someone who has no clue about this game starting off, they have no clue how difficult or hard the game is and what options they should select to tailor their experience. These options only really come into play when you actually have a handle on the game and you're playing it a lot. And I think that is at least a problem with this design. Now, if they are going with this design, you have a switchboard full of options. I wish for all of these options to go from easy to hard. So mechs, it could take fewer components or more components, not just only more components. I wish that, that's why I like that you can have generous, normal, or frugal rewards. If I'm just given the switchboard, I would like to be able to switch it to all the different various options, not just the size of the enemy forces, but I wish the enemy forces started off with full armor, just a lot smaller sizes. So to begin with, I'm facing a couple of lights with full armor, whereas early game is full of I quickly
salvage parts and salvage part mechs and stuff like that.
I quickly played through the campaign, and I did the I finished the prison mission, and then I did the 2 missions that immediately spawn on the same planet. And the first one had me instantly go up against a lance of heavy mechs, and the next one had me go up against 2 lances of 6 mediums and 2 lights, which were of course a lot more tonnage than I had. So the difficulty is still. I imagine to other players this would be like, whoa, lots of things are being thrown at the player immediately after the prison one, where all I've got is 4 mediums. I much more enjoy killing mechs with a whole bunch of armor rather than having hordes of unarmored mechs thrown at me to make an artificial challenge.
Well, one mission I did, it said oh yeah, it's like a 1 skull or something like that, but it turned out to be 3 light lances that came towards me and totally ripped apart my my medium lance. But the whole thing is though, that's how they scaled it. Some missions might be, here's your intel, but we're wrong, and so you get bad intel, you come into it, so oh, it's just a 1 skull and no problem, I'll go through with just these guys, and then they get murdered. So you really have to watch out on the different gameplay, all the different intel, even your intel will be wrong too. So I mean, it sets it up like that, you could actually increase the force strength if you want to, the baseline strength, because I know in the beginning you fight a bunch of hodgepodge mechs that are held together chewing gum, and then later on you do start fighting guys that have full armor, and I know the full armor guys are a lot tougher no matter no matter what it is. Even a locust with full armor is still pretty tough to go to kill.
Yeah, the thing though is this patch. They changed a lot of the skull values to try and reduce those spontaneous difficulty spikes. The fundamental issue in my mind, though, is that these difficulty spikes are a consequence of the game design, whereupon and this is one of the options as well, you could choose to have them throw even more mechs at you. But that's actually a fundamental gripe I have with the game. I want to set it so that they don't throw hundreds of mechs at me. I want them to throw at me, a competent lance with at least full armor.
Yeah.
And it's a fair fight. The thing is, with at least throughout the game, I'm beating up mechs with 25, 50, 75% of their normal armor. I'm always beating up these cripples, these they're just hobbling towards me going, we've got lots of firepower, but please don't shoot us. And I understand it makes the player feel invigorated, but it doesn't feel like a fair fight. It just always feels like I'm beating up all these cripples. And at least personally, I wish I had the option to fight against more armored mechs and to have more armored mechs early on, rather than just them throwing huge numbers of enemies at you. Because the huge number of enemies thing just always makes you feel outnumbered for no real reason.
Well, the one thing that really gets me about the game too, it's you totally waste in 2 rounds the 3/4 of his dude's lance, and he has a locust and comes screaming towards you, I'm gonna kill you. It's well, hold on a second, I just destroyed your whole lance except for just you in a light mech, and I have all assaults or something, and then you come towards me, and it's I'm just gonna destroy you. That's it. If they had something like a runaway mode or surrender mode, or based on get the hell out, I'm gonna retreat mode for the enemy team, that actually would be kind of cool. It'd be more realistic, because I had so many times I'm sitting there what are you doing? I wish they had something like that.
That's a big thing that really makes XCOM stand out, is the various different aliens have radically different psychologies. So if you go against the mutons, the foot soldiers, they're very aggressive. They'll put down suppressing fire, they'll chuck grenades to destroy your cover, and if you shoot them, they're actually likely to get angry and roar and charge at you and try and punch you. because they're really mean and aggressive foot soldiers. Whereas little sectoids or whatnot, you shoot them and they just go, ah, they run away. Even though you set up a crossfire, they panic. You know, just in terms of their AI, it tells them, oh no, Mr. Sectoid, you feel you've been wounded. You want to run as far away as possible. And that's what it tries to do, even though you've got a whole bunch of soldiers ready with their guns aiming at anything that's trying to run away. And that's brilliant because the psychology of the enemy makes them feel so much more, you know, of an interesting opponent to fight. You're like, okay, if I suppress a muton, he might just throw a grenade at me because he stays cool under fire. He might just hunker down, whereas another soldier might, an opponent might just randomly fire back, etc., etc. And yeah, this game doesn't have that personality in terms of how the enemies fight. It would be great, for example, if you're fighting against pirates. They might be initially very bold. They have a lot more attempts at ambushing you or something like that. They have a lot of brawlers. But after you knock down one of the, like, for example, one of their biggest mechs, their boss has just been beaten up, and they don't want none of it. And they all try and, you know, leave the scene. They're not planning to fight to the death. Unlike the frickin' time you recovered the Argo because stupid writing.
But like if you know, like you know, say like you destroyed their, you know, biggest boss, they actually have low morale, they can't do certain things or something like that, or even they run away, so you actually don't get that salvage. You know, they actually take off, you can't find them because they hide in the woods or they hide in some barn or something like that. That would be fine. I wouldn't mind that, to tell you the truth, because so, you know, like I said, so many times, man, a locust charges my atlas. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? What the hell? You know, and that just kind of upsets me that I got to spend like 1 or 2 turns beating up this locust. It's like, God, man, let's just get this over with, type of thing. I'll rather have either surrender or run away that I don't get the salvage. And that would actually be so much better than what they're doing now.
Yeah, mostly just like miscellaneous AI changes would do a huge thing for the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of fundamental things baked into this game thus far that, you know, need to have some breath, a life breathed into it. And this, you know, this patch does improve a lot of quality of life. It gives me a little bit of a switchboard to play with, but it hasn't put life into the game yet, and that's what I'm really looking forward to if they ever do it.
Cool.
Do more stuff on that towards that end.
I mean, they did a good job, so I'm happy with it. So I'm good.
I would say at least they've done some balance changes, so the medium lasers are, instead of 10 heat, 12 heat, which means if you have a whole bunch of them, it's actually quite hot firing medium lasers now. So you can't just necessarily spam medium lasers like you used to.
And the PPCs are now basically for the Panther. It doesn't overheat like freaking crazy.
They chopped 5 heat off the PPC. It's still ridiculously hot for the tonnage invested. I really like the large lasers though. The large lasers, instead of being like they used to be pretty darn hot, 30 heat, which was like 3 regular medium lasers stuck together. Now it's down to 18. It's almost halved, and it's basically 1.5 times a medium laser. With all the range and a bit, you know, more damage as well. About 40 damage rather than the 50 damage. So, you know, I've actually been, at least for my 3rd time through, just I chucked on a whole bunch of large lasers onto mechs just to try it out, and yeah, they're all right. It was kind of fun spamming medium lasers, but I'm enjoying the larges.
Yeah, actually, I might have to see if I get some stock Wolverines, because I know one of them has a large laser on it, and also one of the Commandos does as well too, and kind of use that.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, at least for me, it's like, I could use an AC5, or I could just chuck on a large laser with a whole bunch of heat sinks.
Yeah.
And that would be superior. Why not do that? I mean, I don't care about the stability damage.
Exactly.
Though on the changes to stability damage, I'm not sure. It feels like it's going to be like knocking things over was, of course, really prevalent before, but now I'll need to play more with the heavier mechs, but it's sort of like, I kill them before I knock them over. So, well, I'll just kill them with lasers then, I guess. You know, just take the most killy weapons possible.
I mean, what's been helping me was actually knocking them over, then doing headshots, basically, like for my stock builds, and that's what's been helping me so much. And now with this, you know, with this change, it's going to be a lot harder for me to actually start doing just to get that free mech.
Cold shots have also been nerfed, by the way, in
Yeah.
this thing. So I'm of course using rookies. So to start off with no tactic skills whatsoever, I'm like cold shot. Oh, 50% to hit the CT. That's okay.
Yeah.
And if I try like, oh, I could try a cold shot to the leg, you know, because I'm trying to leg the enemy. Well, that's 15%.
Oh, that's
I guess yeah. So I'm just coring everything out right now instead of focusing down components.
Yeah, right now on my Lance, I have a Kentaro, which I use 3 SRM6s, and the heat generation got reduced down to 12 because I was just over. I could do like 2 salvos before I start overheating, and now this is actually going to be good. It's been a lot better now. God. But yeah, so balance, UI changes, gameplay changes, and performance, and everything else. They're doing a good job, at least I think. And the next patch hopefully will be good.
The great quality of life thing is, at least in the mech lab, when you're trying to build something, you can just click store, buy stuff, and then take the stuff instantly to the build you were working on.
That was such a pain in the ass.
Rather than having to cycle all the way back and then go and return to the build you were trying to work on.
Exactly. So that's a good thing. They did some good stuff. I'm happy. Happy old Bob. Anything else like Aether you want to go, Ned?
Nope.
Okay. So is that a wrap up for the 44th?
How long have we been going to?
Yeah, actually, it's about time. It's about the 1 hour mark.
All right.
So,
yep.
Everyone, this is episode 44 of the First Circuit podcast talking about Mechwarrior and Battletech. We have Aether.
Hey.
And Biter.
Blarg.
And myself, Old Bob 10025. Stay tuned every week on Monday. We'll be having the podcast coming out for you. And thank you for watching. And thank you for all your comments. Thank you for everything you guys do for us. And this is why we do the things for you too. So you guys have a good night, and we'll see you on the battlefield.